Hi, I'm Bill Marquardt with Freedom Boat Club. Today we're going to talk about anchoring, how to actually anchor safely, securely, as well as get the anchor undone if it does happen to be stuck, and then how to properly stow the anchor. So first step is Navionics. It's an app that we ask all members to download. The advantages to Navionics are several, but it allows you to see the depth of the water over the course of the whole lake. So when it comes to anchoring, the advantage to Navionics is you can actually look at the cove that you're about to go to, and you can see the depth in the cove so that you know that it's shallow enough and you have enough rope to securely anchor once you get to the cove, rather than what most people do, which is look at the depth finder and then cruise around the entire cove until you find a spot that works with the amount of rope that you have. So the first step is to figure out where you want to anchor. Now you're going to actually look at the cove, how many boats are in the cove. When you drop the anchor, it's important to recognize that it's wind-based and you're going to travel back several hundred feet from where you actually drop it. So you need to think through, I'm going to put the anchor in a specific spot, and then I'm going to go backwards, and is there a boat there? Is that going to put me into shore? What does that look like? If you find a spot that works, that's shallow enough that you have enough rope, then you drive to the spot, you're going to get the anchor out and secure it and drop it over. When anchoring, that technically you're supposed to use a ratio of around 7 feet of rope for every foot of water that you drop in. That really only is necessary if it's super windy out. If it's not windy or moderately windy, you can get away with a ratio of around 3 to 4. But please keep in mind that you're going to need to drop enough rope so that the anchor safely hits the bottom, secures, and then you have a chain that lays 3 to 4 feet across the bottom to keep it securely mounted, and then the rope itself will gradually feed up to where you end up. So once the anchor is secure, you're going to look and pick a point on the horizon. So before you let everybody out of the boat and then have to get into a mad scramble to get them back in the boat when you realize that you're not actually anchored, stop, look at the shore, pick a point that's not moving, and then just watch it for a couple minutes. The boat should start to pendulum back and forth, which is completely fine, but it should never move past that point. Even if it's just gradually slipping backwards, it means that you're not actually anchored and you're going to have to try again. All right, so now you've picked the point on the horizon, you've watched it, it's been several minutes, you realize the boat is not moving, everybody is safe to jump in the lake, and you can spend as much time as you want there. It is important to keep in mind that on Lake Travis, unlike the ocean, the current is completely wind-based, which means it's subject to change. If you're on the coast and you anchor, the current is not going to flip. On this lake, if you're facing a certain direction and the wind, and it does this all the time, it could change 180 degrees 2 to 3 times a day. It is possible. So even if you are anchored, if you are the captain of the vessel, you need to keep one eye on it. So if the wind flips, you need to make sure that the boat is not going to hit another vessel or run into shore. It's possible, if you have the whole cove to yourself, that it could just re-anchor, stay anchored, and it's simply going to flip around and face the other direction, and you might not need to do anything. Most likely, you'll have to get everybody on the boat, making sure it's powered off, and then make another approach, find another spot, and anchor safely so that everybody can continue on with the rest of the day. All right, so you've spent your day on the lake, and now you're ready to pull the anchor up. So you're going to assign somebody as your helper, as a first mate. They're going to go up to the front of the boat, and they're going to grab the rope and then start pulling the boat in and the rope in. So you're going to move the vessel in a one click, which means that you take the throttle and you move it forward just slightly while the person starts to pull the rope and then gives you direction of the rope, so you're going the specific way that the rope is running. So he would point forward, left, right, so that you can keep the boat moving until you get over the top of the anchor, at which time you will put it in neutral and let them pull the anchor out of the lake. So as you're pulling it up, please keep in mind, especially on bow riders, right, that you're gonna pull it up. As you start to see that you're getting close to the chain coming out of the water, please reach out, hold the anchor away from the vessel as you pull it up so that it doesn't do gel coat damage while coming up out of the water. The other thing, especially right now as our lake is low, is that Lake Travis and Lake Austin both have very muddy bottoms, which means that you could have spent the whole day, it's great, the anchor isn't stuck, but as you're pulling it up, it still has lots and lots of mud and dirt on the anchor. This is easily solved by just dipping the anchor multiple times back into the water until the anchor itself and the chain are clean, at which time you can pull the anchor back into the boat and then properly secure it. You'll notice that when we pulled the anchor out of the locker, it was neat, organized, and clean. When you put it away, it should look relatively the same so that the next member can experience the same level of service that you had. If you bring it in and it's dirty and messy and muddy and you put it back in that locker, we only have an hour and a half in between shifts, and it's simply not enough time to clean off dried mud, dirt, and that means that the next member that gets on that boat, when they go to anchor, is going to be dealing with a dirty rope and a dirty anchor locker, and it's not going to be the same experience that you had. So please put the anchor away the same way that you found it. All right, so something that happens on this lake all the time. We lose a lot of anchors. In fact, anywhere from 100 to 50 to 200 anchors a year, actually. So sometimes you're going to get caught. So it's important for you to realize, how, if I am caught, do I get the anchor up? It's possible that you could cut the rope, but there's some things that you do not want to do. So once you're pulling the anchor up, you're going to discover that it just isn't going to come any further, right? So if you continue to pull it the same direction that you were anchored, it is caught. It's a strong anchor. So you have it, depending on what it's secured on, you're not going to be able to pull it back into the boat. So you'll secure the rope with all of the slack out directly over where you anchored, and then you'll spin the boat 180 degrees and then back it off lightly, going the opposite direction as to the direction that the boat was anchored in when you were sitting for the day enjoying the water. So that 90% of the time will cause the anchor, which is like this. You're going to spin it, the boat, and now you're going to pull it the opposite direction. So it's usually going to come off whatever it was anchored on. There are going to be times when you have to cut the rope and just walk away, in which case we charge you for the anchors. The anchors are a different cost depending on the boat you're on. If you're using an anchor like the one you see in this video, those are around $350 to replace. If you're using one of our traditional anchors, they're about $150. So you would make that decision when you cut the rope. Please do not attempt to use power to pull the anchor up. What you have is a steel anchor, a very, very powerful engine, and a rope. The rope is the weak link. So if you put it in gear and think that you're going to power off whatever it is that you're on, what most likely is going to happen is the rope will snap and then the boat will jerk, possibly causing injury to the passengers on the boat when you break free at a rapid pace. So please just try the method that we taught. If it doesn't work, try it again. If you have to cut the chain, it's not the end of the world. It's just going to be the cost of a replacement anchor.